seeing the same thing over and over and over again, and like, why do I have to keep saying the same things? A lot of times people set boundaries and then they just violate them. And a lot of times it's like, yeah, because you're not a good match for anybody. Does he actually love God, or is he just showing up because this matters to you? Keep Christ in your DMs, young people.
The church was loud about it, and I wonder if we've gotten quiet about it.
Guys, I'm like, that's a red flag.
That's a problem, yeah.
Or the guy that's like, to every girl,
What's up, everybody? It's Johnny. Welcome to the Forward Podcast. This podcast is all about helping young people move forward in their faith. Remember, your best days are ahead of you when you move faith forward. Hit that subscribe or follow button to join the community. Let's jump into today's episode. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Forward Podcast. This is episode 23. And man, I'm excited to be in the room today because we have an honored guest, someone that I love dearly, a friend, a mentor, great leader in our community. Everybody, Dr. Jacob Archer is in the building.
Easy with the doctor stuff there, bro.
Bro, man, it's a real title, man. You got your doctorate, so much love and respect for that, bro. How you feeling, man?
Feeling good. Happy to be a part of the podcast.
Yeah, man.
It's kind of wild. It's like I'm a part of my favorite movie now.
There you go.
I watched it, and now I'm in it.
That's right. That's right. You've made it. You've made it to the Forward Podcast, man.
I love it. It's so sick.
You know, our youth, man, I always say this, man. Our youth loves you, bro. I love you, man. We just appreciate who you are. Family man, local church guy, all the things. And I feel like if my youth had an option on the offseason to trade youth pastors, bro, they would do it in a heartbeat, and I wouldn't even be mad. I'm like, yep, Jake's the guy. That's the right choice, man. Dude, a good dude. So
I love your church, bro.
Yeah,
the whole team, the staff, the volunteers, the lay leaders, and the students. I love it.
Yeah, whole lot of fun. But bro, we're honored to have you on today. Maybe you can just share, people that may not know who you are, a little about who's Jake, what's your story, maybe your upbringing. I think it'd be cool to start that way.
Yeah, for sure. Born and raised in Puyallup, Washington, just south of here in Pierce County. And my dad was a pastor. He started a church when I was 4 years old, and so all I've ever known is church life.
Yep.
And all growing up, he's like, "You're gonna be a pastor," and I'm rolling my eyes, and I'm like, "Yeah, whatever, Dad." Like, and that almost like pushed me away from God's call in my life because I'm like, I just don't want to do what you're telling me to do as a rebellious kid.
Yeah.
So I ended up, long story short, went to Southeastern University, and really, I would say, found the call of God on my life to, in fact, pursue ministry, not knowing exactly what that meant. Of course, my dad goes, "I told you so." But then, just graduated there at 20, married my wife right out of college, and actually an opportunity opened up at my home church to be the youth pastor. So that was almost 11 years ago.
Wow.
And I took that on.
How old were you?
I had just turned, actually, I didn't even turn 21 yet when I got hired. So I was 20 years old,
Let's go.
31 now. And so, yeah, man, just born and raised in the house. I love my church. I love the Church of Jesus Christ. And I love helping young people, man. I love it.
Yeah. Beautiful, bro. And you wrote a book.
I did write a book.
Come on, tell us about that, man.
Yeah, man. And what's funny is like I started dating my wife when we were 14 years old.
Jeez, wow. And you got married
at 21. I had just turned 21. But this book is not like, hey, I dated and here's what I learned from my relationship. It's almost exclusively not that. It's more so from the last decade of pastoring you students, young adults, and honestly, seeing the same thing over and over and over again. And like, why do I have to keep saying the same things? And then I'm like, I'm just going to write this junk down. And then sure enough, turns into a book, and I'm happy to help young people move forward in their walk with God through their relationships.
Super good, man. I love it. And I think, man, I have tremendous respect for someone that can write a book, bro. It's a big deal to go there, grind it out, put it out in front of people, just like, I hope it blesses you,
That's why you're my mentor.
I'll get out of here, man. Get out of here, bro.
Come on my God walk. Let's go.
Well, let's talk about the book. And maybe it's just from the front end. Maybe you can just share, because you were dating for a long time. Do you have like a fail when it comes to dating, like a moment that was embarrassing, or like, hey, bro, like this was just I messed up here, or this was goofy when it comes to your journey?
It's funny because like I like to say like, well, in my previous relationship, I was 14 when I started dating my now wife. But before that, I don't even know if you can call it a girlfriend in 8th grade, but whatever it was.
Your crush.
I was hot. I wasn't all the way holy. So there was this girl that, we were talking obviously for a long time, and she was my first kiss. And I loved it. And so we were literally, this is at Cascade Christian High School. There's like a JV football game or junior high football game going on. I don't know. And I'm just literally making out with this girl behind the school in view of everybody, parents, students. And I don't know why I thought that was fine. I get home and my dad is like, I got like 10 text messages, videos, and I'm like, what was I thinking? I don't know. So that's like,
that's an awkward conversation.
That was definitely like, and my dad always knew, bro, because somebody would see, and I just, dude, that was dumb.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
So when I was first dating Deanna, well, it wasn't even a date. It was like a first hangout. We didn't even call it a date. And I came legit with like notes on my phone for questions, like to keep the conversation going.
A true podcaster.
Yeah. So there you go. That's when it really started.
Where it started.
But I remember like we were at a concert. I went to go to a water bottle. I was like, dude, $5. I ain't getting two. So I just got one. We shared that water bottle. And I promise you, for like a month, I kept that water bottle in my car. And it was like, I was cherishing it. I was like, I'm going to marry this woman one day. You know?
See, like, then that was weird, but now it's sweet.
Now it's sweet. Now it's sweet. I don't even know if Deanna knows this. Babe, I love you. I love you. I love you. Everyone asks this question. Nobody likes the answer, but I want to hear your answer. And people will probably just click off as soon as they hear the answer to this.
Okay.
How do you know he or she is the one?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think honestly, we love that question and obsess over it. And it's honestly the first question you're asking me. I just have a problem with what kind of theology that creates within us if we're looking for the one. Because basically what we're saying is that God has one person out there for me, and I just got to find it. But really, I think when you look at Scripture, right, like there's not a lot of like verses that specifically address dating, but there's a whole lot of scriptures that address wisdom, discernment.
Good.
And so when I think about like the one, I'm not looking at the one that I find. It's like a scavenger hunt. I'm looking at the one that I choose.
Good.
Because that to me aligns a lot more with dating and aligns a lot more with love, right? Because love is not just a feeling. Love is a choice that we make. And so when I made a commitment to love my wife, it was unconditional, and that's the love that Jesus gives us, right? And so that's where I think it's not about finding the one, but with discernment and wisdom, mentorship, you choose somebody. And how do you do that? You date them for a while. You can't say this is going to be my spouse if you haven't even dated them yet. So that's where I think a lot of people think that dating is a necessary evil in the means of marriage, but I think dating is a fun exploration to see if you even like the person, let alone want to marry them.
That's really good. That's really good. And I always tell people, and it's probably, I like your answer better. I'll say the one you marry is the one, you know, because in reality, that's the truth. For sure. But there's wisdom on the front end, and that's that dating season.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it. Maybe what are some things that Christians, maybe some mistakes they make when it comes to dating?
Yeah, I think that's when you're talking Christians. I think that's one of the bigger ones that Christians make is they are looking for the one, and so they're trying to decide. You hear this all the time. I only date to marry, and I'm like, you can't be pro marriage and anti dating. Like, so I think what they're doing is they're putting way too much pressure on a first date because they're like, is this person going to be my spouse? It's like, bro. Your relationship on the first date cannot withstand that level of pressure.
That's real good.
And so, somebody takes a bite of food and it spills on their face like, oh, yeah, no, this person's a slob. I'm not marrying that person. And then you write them off. And I think like within Christianity, like I think we miss the fact that like dating is a gift and it's companionship that God, lets us enjoy.
Real good.
And so I think I think that those first few dates, we write off a lot of great people because we were looking for a spouse instead of just like seeing if I even like this person.
100%. And I've heard story after story where like a dude was pursuing a girl and she's like, no, there's no way. And then soon enough, they get married, they fall in love, they have babies and a beautiful family.
And it's like there's a fine line between you're a stalker and that's a beautiful pursuit.
Yes, talk about that. Yeah, that's important, 100%. But there's something there. But let's talk about maybe, culture, right? There's this whole thing about dating, the movies you watch, is what maybe pressure there is around Christians when they look at the world, they look at what they see online, opposed to like how they should date,
Yeah, pressures. I think it's like a lot of times today, I don't think that Christian relationships look too different from worldly relationships, which is a problem, honestly, and so I think a lot of that is, Christians get married, I think, really quickly because they don't want to burn with lust. And there's that scripture, right? That it's like a lot of people hold on to, like, it's better to marry than to burn with lust. It's like, but lust should not be the reason you get married. Discernment should be,
real
right?
good, real good.
And
real
so
good.
I think there's a lot of Christian relationships that are in this hookup culture, right? Where it's like they don't care about marriage, and so they just hook up anyway. And I think that a lot of Christians, I mean, think about this. If a youth student comes up to you and is like, "Oh, I got a new boyfriend," your first thought is not, "Oh, yay." Your first thought is, "Oh, gosh,"
no,
right?
yeah, 100%.
And why is that? Because most Christian relationships look just like worldly relationships. That's why divorce rates are same in the church as outside of the church. And so that's where I think, like, that's a better question, is like, how can we make Christian relationships look different from worldly relationships?
Super good, super good. And now, I mean, what would you say do that? Like, what does it look like for a Christian then to date? What are maybe some healthy boundaries or whatever?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
If you're gonna talk to one of your students, like, "Oh yeah, you're dating." Well, congrats, I guess. But here, this is what you need to know.
Yeah, man. I think it's all about the patterns that you set, and you mentioned boundaries, and I think boundaries are good, but they're not God. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times people set boundaries and then they just violate them. It's like if you violate your boundaries in dating, why wouldn't you violate those same boundaries when you're in marriage? So I think boundaries are good, and we could definitely, we could talk for days about boundaries. The church loves talking boundaries in dating.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think following patterns of spiritual discipline, I think, are
really
great,
good.
and so that would kind of be, what would establish a good, healthy relationship.
Would there be a moment where you would say, "Hey, maybe you're not ready to date," or what would be like a green light to know, like, "Hey, maybe I am in a season where I should start dating"?
Yeah. Dude, I think, what you see a lot with young relationships, and, this is kind of what we're talking about. Young relationships, a lot of people, they lose their identity in the person that they're dating. And so it's like, you can't date somebody unless you're very confident in your own identity in Christ.
Super good.
Right? And so from that's going to be a strong foundation.
Yeah.
And so, if you're looking for comfort and you're not going to the comforter, you're going to your boyfriend's arms, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to find it.
Super
And
good.
so that's where I think, like, it all stems from the confidence that you have in your relationship with Christ. If you're not confident in that relationship, there's no way you can have a healthy dating relationship.
Super good.
So that's where I think you got to have that established first.
Yeah, that's super helpful because I've seen that so many times. I've even seen that in me early on. Like, I was like, man, I was an insecure young dude,
Totally.
when I just started dating. I was like,
Me too.
I remember there was a moment where, like, Deanna was camping, and I was like wanting her to Snapchat me back when she was camping with her family, but she didn't even have any service. So I was like asking her and wanting her to go to a certain location where there's a park where she can have service to to reach me back. And when she wouldn't respond, I was like, what the heck's going on? How could she? And I was like, dude, that's unhealthy, bro. Like if I was in her shoes, if I was her father, I'd be like, bro, you need to leave that man.
Right.
Like, that man
Oh
needs
my
to
gosh.
give you some space. And so I think there's definitely a lot of wisdom there. You got to be secure in who you are before you jump into a relationship. Well, let's talk about maybe what are some areas that young people can work on, whether it's a young adult or youth, when it comes to getting ready for marriage or getting ready to date. Is there some areas of life that you should be focusing on, working on?
Yeah, I just think, make yourself a viable candidate, and I think one of the things that I see a lot is people talk about how, like, oh, they can't find anybody, like, that's a good match for them. And a lot of times, like, yeah, because you're not a good match for anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, you want this person that's committed to the Lord, but you don't even open your word. You know what I mean? You want this person that's going to provide for you, but you haven't even held down a job. You know what I mean? So I think it's like, it obviously there's a spiritual element to it. We're pastors, and so that's huge. But there's also this element of, like, how well are you stewarding your life? Like, are you solid? Yeah, like we talked about in your identity in Christ, but also are you solid, like, financially?
Good.
Do you have good stability in your life? And I think that is good for, like, you talked about, like, youth and young adults. Like, stability for a young adult is going to look way different than stability for a teenager, right?
For sure.
Like, if you're a teenager and you don't have a job, like, that's okay.
Yeah.
But if you're 29 and you don't have a job, that's a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
on, man.
that's where I think, like, are you stable in your life? Can you provide financially? And providing for yourself is, like, the first step in being able to provide for somebody else.
100%. I'm always thinking about, like, 4 buckets of life. Like, there's your spiritual bucket, there's your relational bucket, there's your health bucket, there's your financial bucket.
That's
it's like,
really
hey,
good.
just keep pouring into those buckets,
and
you're gonna attract, who you are,
Totally.
And so that's good wisdom right there. Okay, so why is being unequally yoked such a big deal? Why does the Lord talk about it? Why do we see it in the scripture? Why do we talk about it in the church?
Yeah. Yeah, I've done a lot of research on this specifically, for the book.
Yeah.
And one of the things that really caught my attention is that this idea of unequally yoked was more so about an unbeliever with a believer, right? And I think within the church, sometimes we say, oh, that person's not a strong Christian. You guys are unequally yoked. And I'm like, I don't know if that's really the intention of that passage to an extent. I wouldn't like stake everything on this, but I'm thinking like to me, a lot of times I've seen somebody like, for example, they're newer to faith, maybe within the last year. And so they have all the passion in the world, but like they didn't grow up in church, so they don't know all the Bible stories like you do. But at the same time, like all the Bible stories, but they have more zeal and love for God than you do. And so if we're going to go that route, I would say the other person is unequally yoked to you, right? So just because you know more theology doesn't mean that like you're a quote unquote stronger Christian. And so I think for me, it's more about love and zeal for the Lord than it is about knowledge and theology. Because think about it, if somebody really has zeal and knowledge for the Lord, I've seen somebody like mature really fast.
100%.
Right? And 100%. So I think if they have a love for God, but they're newer to faith, I think that's fine. I think it's more so of like, do they love God or do they tolerate God? Like, are they in church or like is the Spirit of God in them? You know what I mean?
Really
and so that's where I think when it comes to unequally yoked, like, yeah, do not team up with an unbeliever. Not because like, oh, they won't go to church with you, but literally every decision you make won't make sense to them. And so you talk about how you spend your money, how you raise your kids. And so like, yeah, don't do that. If it's a matter of like, oh, well, I'm more Christian than that person, I think you might have an issue with like spiritual pride more than anything. Yeah. So yeah, I think there's obviously there's levels to that. But I do think it's, don't team up with an unbeliever. If somebody loves God and they're newer to faith, like, yeah, give them time to grow.
100%. And I've seen that, like so many like just stud young men in our church that have recently got saved, man. And they're engaged, they're getting married, and they're ready, bro. Like the Lord has done a great work maturing them and stuff and getting them, like healthy spiritually. So
totally.
Yeah, I think that scripture is like you can't be unequally yoked, meaning you can't be a believer or a non-believer. Like that should be like a non-negotiable one. There's that whole thing about, well, I'll win them over and all that kind of stuff. And like you want to be careful with that, but yeah, that's really wise. Like just because they don't know as much theology as you doesn't mean they're not in love deeply with the Lord and are not going to mature and be
and a lot of that too, it comes with like their patterns in life, and so I think it's like one of the things I always ask like young people is like, does he love God? Did he love God before you, or does he love God because of you? You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of people it's like this girl's been coming to church for a long time. Oh, you need to meet my boyfriend. He's never been to church before. He's coming this week. It's like, does he actually love God, or is he just showing up because this matters to you? You know what I mean? And so that's where I think you got to make that distinction.
Okay, that's really good. Okay, what are maybe some practical boundaries? Let's say we're dating now. Would you recommend for couples that are trying to honor God?
Yeah, that's good. And I do think boundaries are really, again, I said this before, but boundaries are good, but they're not God.
Okay.
And so the focus with boundaries is more so of like, the focus should be more on purity, on what is good, instead of like how far away can I go, right?
Good.
So like I think a lot of times we think of like boundaries as like the mission, right? So it's like if we're talking physical boundaries, let's go there, right? Yeah. Like how far is too far?
Yeah.
And this is where you could get really graphic if you wanted to, right? Is hands touching hands okay? Is hands touching body parts okay? Yeah. Right? And so are body parts touching body parts okay? You can go as far with that. This is your podcast. We're going to keep it clean. But that's where I think like if that becomes like the focal point, that becomes the agenda, right? So instead of focusing on how far away can I go, you want to focus on like how close to the Lord can I be? But that being said, there should also be some boundaries. And so I think, let's start physical, like physical touch. I was having this conversation the other day. If it's covered, leave it covered. You know what I mean? You don't need to be removing layers. If it's covered, it shouldn't be touched.
That's good.
I think that's a great boundary.
It's a reason it's covered. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I think to my parents would always say like if nothing good happens after midnight. So I think setting a time, right? I think another boundary that was placed on me as a kid that I really have seen to be true is there's really no reason why you should be in that person's bedroom like ever. So I think a lot of times that's like a hangout spot. It's like, there's no reason for you to be there.
That's good.
And then okay, here's one that's new though, like virtual sex, right? Like sending inappropriate photos.
Yep.
Having like sexting is huge.
Yep.
Like that's a big deal.
Big deal.
And so I think like, dude, how crazy would it be like if you were so close with a mentor and you told imagine if somebody else just had your phone, you would freak out. Why? Because you know what's on there, right? If you're not freaking out, it's because you know there's nothing to worry about. But imagine if one of your students said, "Hey, I'm dating this girl or I'm dating this guy," maybe that would be your wife, counseling that young lady, but saying like at any point you can randomly go through my messages with my significant other. Like that lets me know like I got to keep everything on business, right? And so I think like having somebody that has like they've got the passcode to your phone and like they can access, hey, let me see your messages.
Yeah.
And then you might have to explain some stuff. So I think like, keeping your conversations, keeping Christ in those text messages, keep Christ in your DMs, young people. Okay.
All that stuff.
And Snapchat's a tough one because there's no accountability in it, right? Like it just deletes instantly.
There and it's gone. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think maybe get rid of some of those apps that don't help you with accountability.
Super good.
And then the last thing is there's no such thing as an accountability partner if you're not willing to expose yourself.
Super
a
good.
lot of times we blame accountability partners for
they
not
didn't find it.
Yeah, because they didn't keep us accountable. It's like, no, you're missing it. The point of accountability is that you confess to me, right? Not
healing,
that I discover it or I find it. Like you've got to confess it. And so that's
Super
where I
good.
think if you're really looking for accountability, it's like, yeah, we all make mistakes, and that's fine. But like, if you can constantly expose yourself to a person of authority, right? That's a big kicker, right? To a person of authority in your life, that to me helps you with those boundaries.
I have a question for you. So, like, why do you think sex outside of marriage is such a big deal? Because I feel like historically in the church, it was always like the biggest topic, that we would talk about. But now I kind of feel like maybe we've kind of gotten light with it and just kind of don't talk about it as much.
Yeah.
Like, why do you think it's such a big deal? I don't know.
Yeah, I actually have a lot of different thoughts on this, and the main ones are biblical, but there's also a lot of just like straight up wisdom that goes into it. Go figure. The Bible has wisdom, right? But I think it's the book of Hebrews that says like honor the marriage bed. God is always against casual and illicit sex. Like he is, right? It is not just for everybody. And so in fact, what a lot of Bible translations use as they translate into sexual immorality, that's the Greek word porneia. You can imagine where that word leads to, right?
Yep.
Like things like pornography, because it's basically it's sexual perversion, right? And so when people are acting in sexual perversion of all kinds, right? It does not honor the Lord. And so he does say there's two scriptures that come to my mind, and that is Genesis chapter 2. That Jesus reiterates in Matthew, I think 19, but God in the very beginning says this is why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and then the two become one. And then Jesus reiterates this, and he says, "What God has joined together, let no man separate." Right? And so there's a conversation on marriage there, and then the scripture in Hebrews I'm referencing, right? Like keep sex sacred within the context of marriage. So that's where you get a direct connection between sex and marriage. And that's what I think the beauty of it, and this is where it just leads to just generic wisdom, is when you are, and here we go, people, this is we're talking about it, is when you are naked with somebody, you are quite literally in the most vulnerable position you could be.
Yep.
Right?
100%.
And so I don't want to put myself in a position where I can get exposed, right? And so when you are naked with somebody who has not committed to you, you're putting yourself in a dangerous place. But the beautiful thing about marriage is I'm making a covenant with you, right? Like the government gets involved and they get a little piece of paper, but that's just symbolic of my spiritual commitment, of my covenant, right? Where I'm saying I am with you forsaking all others till my life ends. And so that's where you know that you are safe with me, right? Emotionally, physically, like I'm going to take care of you. And so we can be intimate because we have a covenant that says it's exclusive between you and me.
Yeah.
So that's my thought on marriage and sex.
Super good. And back to just the wisdom of the Bible, right? Marriage, God's idea. Sex, God's idea.
Yep,
and when you do it outside of marriage, it brings death, not life.
Yeah.
And there's just wisdom around that. Like, like I've got babies now. There's life. It's a beautiful thing.
Praise
Our marriage
God.
is stronger. It's a beautiful thing. But outside of it, you just think about like dad's not around. You think about abortion. You think about all these things that produce death when you do it outside of marriage. You might think like, oh, we're dating. We're going to get married one day. All these things. But how many broken families, broken homes? And like, there's nothing that grace can't cover. There's nothing that God can't redeem if you've done. But it's just the wisdom of Scripture. There's some sins where it's like you cheat on your test. That's a sin. But the consequences are different where it's like, hey, I slept around.
Yeah.
Just the damage to society as a whole. That's why I think the church was loud about it. And I wonder if we've gotten quiet about it. But I was like, man, I kind of want to like, not be like extra about it, but I want to just raise it up and get in front of people again. Like, hey, this is, you don't want to play with this.
You know what's sad is I just think like, this is like one of the things that like just brings down ministers. You know what I mean? And it's almost like the church has like gotten quiet because like we're not sure that we can even live, up to the standard. And that's like, man, just because like it's hard doesn't mean that it's not God. You know what I mean? And so like, it's a high standard that the Lord sets. And so I don't want to downplay. I don't want to water it down.
Yeah.
And to people that have fallen in ministry or just in life, like of course there's grace, right? And there should be grace. But I don't think that means that we lower the standard,
no.
right?
God is still holy, good.
Yeah.
Hot and holy, everybody. Hot and holy. I love that title. So what are some, Pastor Jay, what are some maybe like red flags that people should look out for? Like, hey, here's something that's like, yo, throw the flag on the field.
Okay. Let me quote an old theologian. Man, I think his name was Biz Marquis. He wrote a song. He said, "Don't ever talk to a girl that says she just has a friend." Okay. In fact, here's what I would say. Like, you ever heard it where it's like, there's a girl and she's like, oh, all my friends are guys. I'm like, that's a red flag.
That's a problem, yeah.
Or the guy that's like to every girl, hey, where's my hug at? Where's my hug? Like, hey, girls, avoid that guy.
Run.
Because people that are overly flirtatious, they don't see anything wrong with that. And I'm not saying like if that's you, like you're a bad person. I'm just saying like when you do get into a committed relationship, that has to stop, right? Because now you're saying that like, oh, well, they're just a friend. Statistically speaking, people that end up dating, they were friends first. So when you're saying that person's just a friend, you're saying I'm more likely to date that person than the stranger that I'm being kind to. So that's where I'm like, man, if this person is just overtly kind to everybody, like, and they keep doing that when you're in a committed relationship, I'm like, dude, that's a red flag. I don't know if you got any other ones.
No, I think that
you've
one's
gotta
really
seen
good.
some.
I'm just thinking about like. And Solomon writes is like catch the foxes. There's that whole like love romantic thing that's going on in Song of Songs. Catch the little foxes that ruin the fountain of love or something like that. And I've been thinking about this thought, man. Like little foxes become wolves in marriage. And so like once upon a time was a little fox, was a little red flag. But if that continues, all of a sudden it could be something that can destroy, ruin, and you can't go catch a little wolf. Like that thing's gonna destroy and devour. And so there's some things like that, whether it's like flirting around, maybe not serious about the Lord, and you're gonna one day, get them serious about the Lord. Like those things can really derail. I feel like a relationship in the long run, and so 100%.
Yeah, I mean, and I think too, like with the red flags, I love you seen the memes going around where it's like he goes to church, but he does this. And they're like, they run out of the camera or they stay. I think those are fun. And then I think you just got to decide too, like what is not worth pursuing, and then what's like, oh, this is just like a personality thing. You know what I mean? And that's where I think it's funny because like you get some people like, I don't mind that, and they stay, and other people run out of the camera shot. It's like, okay, like that's fine. But like you're saying, like their spiritual pursuit of God, like if that's a red flag. That's not one you're like, oh, that's okay. Like, no. That's like that's a stop sign.
How they treat other people.
Dude, yes.
They're going to treat you good right now, but they're going to treat you like
oh, preach. Come on.
How they honor their parents. Like all these things. Huge.
Oh my gosh. Dude, if they don't honor their parents, they will not honor you. I'm pretty set on that. That's a great word.
And do they honor your parents? Like the rule that your dad or your mom has set over your house.
Oh, there's going to have to be an extra chapter in this book that you write, bro. Oh my gosh.
Oh, real good. Okay, let's see. Talk about community. I think community is so huge when it comes to relationships. Like, how involved should community be in like green lighting things?
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I think it's huge, and I think it. When you're talking like biblical dating, like and advice within your community, I think where it comes from is huge, right? And so I think like let me tell you this story. This guy came up to me when we were in 9th grade, and it's like first year of high school. Who should we take to homecoming? What are we gonna do? And this guy had recently broken up with his girlfriend. He's like, "Do you think I should like ask her to homecoming? Like, I think I'm gonna ask her like on this day." I'm like, "Oh man, like I don't know."
He just broke up with his girlfriend.
He broke up with her, but they were still like friends, And it's like, should I ask her to home? And we're all friends, right? Because community, right? And he's like, should I ask her to homecoming? I'm like, oh man, like I don't know, like if she's up for it. What like when are you thinking about doing that? He's like, oh, probably like on like Thursday or whatever. So on Tuesday, I went to her house and I asked her to homecoming. We dated for 7 years and got married. That's my wife today. And so here's the thing. Now you're like,
watch who you talk to.
yeah. Now you're like, oh, that's cute, right?
Yeah.
But back then, like they're like, man, that Jake is
that was dirty.
He's Jake the Snake, bro. Look at that. He just stole that girl. So that's where I'm like, dude. Like, yes, if you want your friends to like your boyfriend or girlfriend, like that's great. But like, be careful when you're getting dating advice from them because they have your best interest at heart, but they also have their own interests at heart.
Sure.
And that's why I love like getting dating advice from somebody like who's married or at
Seasons
minimum
ahead,
like 10 years older, because that's where it's like they're not looking to date this person, so there's no bias in that.
That's so funny, bro.
Yeah, I know. And so, and obviously we're cool now because now it's a cute story.
Yeah.
But if that was you in that moment, you're not thinking that's cute.
100%.
Right? And so that's where I think like, well, what if they don't like my boyfriend? What if they don't like my girlfriend, my friends? And that's where I think it's like, well, in some way that's good. You don't want them to obsess over your boyfriend or girlfriend.
So good.
Right? But I also think too, like the goal is not uniformity, it's harmony, right? So like they don't have to be best friends with your boyfriend or girlfriend.
100%.
Is there respect?
Yep.
And if they're all about like don't date this person, what if that was jealousy? Go ask like your mentor, your pastor, right?
Advisors,
even your parents, right? And say like, well, here's what they're saying. What do you think? And if they're like, dude, don't worry about it, then I think you got a green light. If your mentor's like, man, that's a red light. You invited that person into your life. I would receive that voice.
That's why I love like the idea of like going to your pastor, going to someone that's ahead of you because they can say, yeah, they're great, but you're not. So you probably shouldn't, be in a season of dating. Or they can just like, hey, I just don't see it working out. It doesn't make sense.
Totally.
You don't know enough. But I think there's something about being in the community, being in the light. Your friends, but you might get jaked. You don't know what might happen. But there's something about getting some green lights from people. I think it's huge. What would you recommend? So I mean, now you've got baby girls. I've got a baby girl. We've got sons. Like when you're 45 years from now, when you're ready to release one of your daughters,
45 years.
What are you telling them to look for in a man? Like, what would be something?
Oh gosh, man. You know what? Here's what I'm looking for. What are his spiritual disciplines? You know what I mean? Because you know what I hear all the time is it's like, oh, church is a great place to meet people. Yeah, but unsaved people go to churches all the time, right?
Super good.
And so that's where it's like, just because he goes to church, that don't impress me.
Yep.
I want to see his tithe records. You know what I'm saying?
Pastor.
I want to know, is he tithing? Right?
So
is he
good.
Serving? Is he in his word quoting the word? Is he kind to people? Right? Because okay, let's go back to the last episode of the Forward podcast. Right? You were talking about you were talking about false teachers.
Yeah.
And the first thing you said, it was so brilliant. You said, well, look at the fruit of this person's life. And that's where I think like if somebody's in church, that's great, but look at their fruit. You don't see fruit right away. Like fruit takes time. And so that's where I think like see the patterns in their life. Do they have spiritual disciplines? Not do they go to church? Do they have spiritual disciplines?
Good.
Because if they tithe, here's what I know. My daughter's never going to have to worry about provision because that man is putting his hope and trust in the Lord to provide. So I don't got to worry about, is this guy going to be able to provide? I know he's doing his job. He's tithing. So he knows his provision comes from the Lord. My daughter's always going to be cared for. How does he treat other people, right? Is he kind? Then I know that he's going to honor my daughter. And so I don't fear that day. I pray for it, obviously.
Beautiful.
I pray for it. I got a gun in my waistband. If
Let's
anything
go.
goes,
Let's go.
No,
What's that country song? Cleaning my gun.
Come
You know,
on,
she
come
ain't
on,
back
we're
by
right here.
10.
No, I don't fear that day. I pray for that day, and my goal is not for her to stay single. You know what I mean? Like I want her
100%.
to get married, and so it's just that I want her to date and marry the right guy, and so that's I hope that I hope that I can train her in such a way that she's looking for those things in a man, that he does pursue the Lord and he does trust the Lord, and she sees the fruit from his life. So that's what I hope for.
And if we would flip it, and you're talking to your sons, what are you looking for in a woman?
It's so funny because it shouldn't be, but it just feels like such a different conversation.
So much easier. Yeah, bro, you're fine, man.
Yeah,
you figure
bro.
it out.
Like, hey, she cute, boy. And just that, but no. What's funny is like I think the conversation should be the exact same. You know what I mean? It's like it feels different, but it shouldn't be different at all.
Yeah.
Because I think you're really looking at like a strong relationship is two strong individuals, and so guys,
Good.
you should look for the same thing in a girl that girls you should look for in a guy. Like, does he tithe? Or does she tithe? Does she serve the Lord?
Yeah.
Does she treat people with respect?
Yep.
Is she a gossiper? Right.
Yep.
And I think like it really comes down to the same things. Is like, do they have those spiritual disciplines in their life? Because those disciplines will last. Seeing them worship, like, dude. People get moved in worship services all the time. So it's like, I just love the way he worshiped. Like, he might have just gone through something really heartbreaking. He was just desperate. You know what I mean? But does he live with that desperation of wanting God's presence in his life? Even in the dry seasons, he's still like serving. He's still in the word. He's still tithing. And I think those are patterns that you can really look for in somebody. So yeah, it shouldn't be different. It feels different.
Yeah,
but
it feels different. That's good language. And I think that's what's so great about the dating season. You can see the beauty beyond just the outside. You can see the heart. You can see the condition of what's going on, their character. Now, what about someone that's maybe in a waiting season, let's say a young adult that's ready to get married, what advice do you have for them? Like, hey, I'm ready to get married. I'm doing all things. I'm pouring into the buckets. I tithe. I do those things. Like what?
But they're not dating?
Yeah, they're not dating. They're wanting to, but they're just in a season of waiting. Yeah, they're like, they want to be dating, but they're not.
Yeah, I think if you're in a season of waiting, but you want to be married, I think we should change that from a season of waiting to a season of dating. You know what I mean? So I think like put yourself out there. And I know one of the things that you had mentioned, or potentially talking about, is like dating apps.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, get on them. You know what I mean? I'm a big believer in it, and obviously, like, your intentions matter. If you're looking for a date, great. If you're looking for a hookup, like, obviously that's not what we're talking about. But I think like this comes back to the very first thing we talked about, right? Is like, don't go out there looking for a spouse, because you're putting a lot of pressure on it. Go out there looking for somebody you can have a good time with. You know what I mean? Again, in a holy manner.
Yeah. 100%.
But I think like go on dates, go on a lot of dates, and I think there's two versions of dating that I like to highlight. Like, if we said like, oh, we're dating, that implies like, oh, we're in a relationship. But there's also what I would call like dating to discover. Like, oh, we're gonna go on a date because I want to see if I want to date this person.
Yeah.
In that element, you're not exclusive. And I'm not saying that you should just go out and date everybody at the same time.
Yeah.
But like think about people that are on those dating apps. They're in that same season where it's like, I want a relationship. I'm ready for one. And so like the reality is that you may not like. I think the average is like you date 4 people before you actually get married. I think that was one of the research things that I found. And so like, that might mean that you might have to go on a few different dates with different people. That doesn't mean that you're like dating different people. It just means like, oh, I took somebody out to coffee while I had another one lined up 4 days later, right? I'm not saying you need to, say that to the person, but I also don't think that's something that you need to hide, because you're not exclusive to that person. You're doing the same thing they're doing. I'm looking to see if this could lead into something better. And as long as you're upfront with that, I think that's fine, right? Where it's like, hey, you know what? Had a great time, but I don't see this going anywhere.
Yeah.
There's no shame
I always
in that.
tell people like, hey, you guys are dating. There's no real commitment. You
Yeah.
you guys are dating. Like it's
think
okay.
about how much more so that matters if like this is a first date and they don't even know the person, right?
Yeah.
Like you win on a date. You're not dating.
Yeah.
You know
You're
what I
not
mean?
even dating.
So,
Yeah, you went on a date. Yeah. That's good language.
So I think, man, have fun with it.
Yeah. So good. Okay, you have a chapter in the book, Too Hot to Handle, bro. I love that chapter. I love the title. What's that one all about?
Yeah, this is all about essence of the book, hot and holy, right? Hot meaning the passion, sex drive, if you will, but like the desire and in passion is actually described. The definition of passion is a strong and barely controllable emotion. So if you think about it, it's like it's barely controllable. That kind of describes a lot of people with their sexuality, right?
Yeah, 100%.
But passion in itself is not bad, right? I mean, we talk about the passion of Jesus. How many of you are grateful that we have that our Savior had passion to go to the cross, right? Now I'm preaching, but passion is a good thing, right? And I equate it to fire, right? And that's why it's hot and holy, because passion in itself is a good thing. It is good. We are wired that way. So burning hot, right? Having that drive, passion is good, but passion that is not submitted is wicked, right? And so that's where passion, I equated it to a fire. Fire is a sign of life. It's how you have light. It's how you have warmth. It's how you can cook, right? It is a sign of life. And fire in a fireplace is beautiful, right? We envision a winter evening. You've got the fire
best.
going. You're cuddled up next to it in a holy manner.
The best.
The sound of the crackling fire. I mean, come on, Christmas morning, who puts on the Yule log? You know what I mean? On the TV. And so fire is life. But if that same fire moves 3 feet out from the fireplace, it's now destructive.
Good.
And it burns down the house. So
Good.
I actually preached on this topic the other day where I had a literal torch. I was like, as long as this fire's on the torch, it's a beautiful thing. But if I put it to the pew or to the chair,
it's a problem.
It's now burning down the temple of God. What happens with our passion? When we have it submitted over to the Lordship of Jesus Christ, it is beautiful. It's a good thing. But when we let it out of control and outside of the parameters that God put for it, it now burns down the temple, which is our bodies, right?
Okay.
And so what did God do? God did not extinguish the fire, which is what the quote-unquote purity culture of the church tried to teach us. It doesn't extinguish the fire. God just made a fireplace, right? And so as long as it stays there, it's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Come on.
So too hot to handle. It's keeping that passion that is strong in the place and in the submission to God's design.
Love it.
That's where it will bless your life.
Come on now. Get the book, everybody.
Come on.
Get the book. A few just quick hot takes. We talked about them quickly, but as we wrap up here. So dating apps, you mentioned it. You're in.
Bring it on, man.
Bring it on.
Schedule a date or two.
Let's go. Schedule a date or two.
Okay. Because it's not, you're not a player, right? If you're just trying to like, oh, I'm just going to see if this works with this person. I'll see if this works with this person. Again, as long as you're like not being deceitful and you're just upfront with it, and that doesn't continue. I'm not saying go on like 10 dates with 2 people. That like at that you should know after date 1 or 2 whether or not to cut one loose, right?
Yes.
So yeah, hedge your bets, man.
Good. Okay. Right on. Okay. How long should someone date before getting married?
Yeah,
I know everyone's story is different, right?
Everyone's story is different for sure. But I think wisdom would say, and this is kind of like old church wisdom too, is the 4 full seasons, which I think everybody's kind of heard in the dating world. But here's what I would say: is a lot of people, they get engaged in the 4th season so they can get married at the end of the 12th month. And I'm like, dude, I think you've got to see that last one through. So I always encourage people, like, again, if you're 16, that doesn't mean that you're ready to date at 17. So everyone's story is different.
Yep.
But if you're like a young adult, let's say, or you're an adult in general, and you found somebody, I would recommend dating at least 12 full months before you get engaged. Because really, when you get engaged, you're saying, I'm ready to commit to you.
Yeah.
Some people make that decision when they're 10 months in. And here's my thought, is if wisdom is sharing, go 12 full months and you're at 10, what is the rest of your life to 2 months to just get absolute confirmation? So
I'm burning with passion faster.
I know. I'm like, come on, let wisdom lead your life, not lust.
Real good. Could you date too long?
Yes, dude, for sure. Because if you know what, if all the pieces are in place and you are financially stable, you're in a season of life that like it's stable, your career is like pretty set, and you have dated for 2 years. At that point, I'm like, what more do you need? Like, what confirmation? What are you waiting for? Because really, at that point, it is that fish or cut bait kind of a thing. Because after 1 year, I'm pretty confident that you know who the person is. But after 2 years, you know who that person is. And if you're not ready to commit, either you have a problem yourself with commitment, or there's something in that person that is dissettling, and you need to have that conversation really with yourself or a mentor as to like, is this like, what am I seeing? Like, why is this a problem? I do think you can date too long.
Okay, missionary dating. I'm gonna change that person. They're not saved yet, but they're gonna be.
How about you do that first, and then we see where it goes. And you know what? The funny thing is, I've actually seen it work. But again, that like you don't base your life off of exceptions.
Yes,
you base your life off of wisdom.
Yes,
and wisdom would say, and Scripture, do not do that.
That's right.
And again, you want that person to inspire you spiritually, whether it's a man or a woman, right? You want your boyfriend or your girlfriend to inspire you spiritually.
Yep.
You don't want them to be a weight that you're dragging to the cross, right? There's going to be times where they need to push you to the cross. They need to carry you to the cross.
Super good.
And that's where it's like, if you are the only one doing that, boy or girl, like, dude, that's not a healthy relationship.
Yep. And wisdom would say, everybody get the book, Hot and Holy.
Hey,
it is
coming
out at the time of the release of this podcast. It will be out. Where can they get it?
HotHolyBook.com.
Come on.
They can get it right there. It's also on my Instagram. The link's in the bio. They can also, I think, get it on Amazon, Walmart. But I'm told don't buy it there because I don't get nothing from it. So,
really?
So HotHolyBook.com, everybody. Get it from there.
Go on the website. Go on Instagram. Hit the link. All the things. Well, bro, honored to have you on the episode today. I just want to encourage you, Ford community. Remember, keep moving your faith forward, because when you do, your best days are ahead of you. Your best days will be ahead of you. Go ahead and share this with a friend and hit subscribe. We love you. We'll see you on the next episode.